This is Hose Jockeys Unite, the only episodic podcast that strives to not only educate and entertain those in emergency services, but to give an inside peek inside the fire and EMS services to the general public. We are here to leave a legacy for future generations. And now, here are your hosts, Chris Edwards and Jay Gallagher. Good evening, everyone. This is Hose Jockeys Unite, the day room. My name is Chris, and I'm your host, and this is my co-host, Jay Gallagher. Good evening, Jay.
Hey, what's up, man?
Oh, not much. Haven't been on in a while, so I thought we'd get another show cranked out. So how's things going in your neck of the woods?
Oh, we're doing good. Everything's, as my pop used to say, everything's copacetic. How about on your end?
Oh, not too bad. Just kind of working all the time, and that's the extent of my life.
Yeah, been there, done that. But look at it this way. Only 30 more years and you can be retarded like me. Retired.
Exactly. So, as y'all know, whoever has watched the show before, this is the day room, and it's a non-formatted show. We don't have anything we research. It's just kind of a round table format, and we just sit there and talk about whatever comes to mind. So,
Yep. And be very well aware. Sometimes there is no filters.
Exactly. So, Jay, what's on your mind today? What are we going to discuss?
Well, I got a couple of topics I'd like to go over. The first one is kind of delves in on the side of safety.
Right.
You and I were engaged in a conversation on one of our favorite Facebook pages, and it was talking about the TV show Emergency.
Right.
Which, I still dearly love to watch.
Every day.
And
it's still in reruns.
Yeah. And did you know that before Emergency came out, that the closest paramedic unit was at least 45 minutes away, and after the show went off the air, the closest paramedic was then 10 minutes away?
Did not know that.
All because of that show.
True. Well, it's like we've said before, that show sparked interest in a lot of people getting into emergency medical services because of the show, and fire as well.
Absolutely. But anyway, back on topic. They were discussing the show about where Johnny Gage was having insomnia, and when he finally did get to go to sleep, they had a call, and it was just for the engine. But Roy comes running out of the bunk room, sees John on the back of the engine, rolling out the bay, and the question was posed that what would Roy do if there was another call for the squad, and such and such, what would happen? And Chris, would you like to tell them what you put on there? Or better yet, just pop the thing up so everybody can see it. Okay, Chris, I don't know what happened, but I have just totally lost your audio. So anyway, while he's fixing that, I'll go ahead and kind of fill you in a little bit. Basically, Chris had put on there that if the driver operator had just took that 3 or 4 seconds to do a 360 of his rig before he pulled out of the station, he would have seen Gage on the back of the engine and got him off before they rolled out the station. And we had a 90-day wonder, instant fireman, just add water, whatever you want to call him, go on there and said that there's not enough time to do a 360 of your truck before you roll out of the station. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, to that statement I call 110% bullshit. There is always time for safety. What's 3 seconds? National Fire Protection Association, their goal is to have for you to be able to leave your station and arrive on the scene within 4 minutes. 3 seconds out of 4 minutes, I think you can get to your scene, still drive safely, and everything be okay. Now, I know y'all are probably saying, well, nobody rides tailboard anymore. We got enclosed cabs, yada, yada, yada. Well, that's all well and good. But does it take very long as you go up the side of the engine to the driver's door to check all your compartment doors, make sure they're shut good and tight? Because the last thing you want to do, boys and girls, is to roll up on a scene and there be a door open and the appliance or tool you need be laying on the corner of Webb Avenue and Church Street. All because you didn't take the time to check your doors and make sure they were secure. Plus, if something falls off of your rig or out of your rig, it could hit a civilian walking along the side of the road and, you know, cause them harm. Break a leg, break an arm, knock them out, whatever. It can happen. So, you need to take the time to check all your doors before you roll out the station. Make sure everybody is seated in the cab of the truck and with their seatbelt buckled. Was a video that I seen. It was a safety video where there was a department that was responding to a call, and one of the guys in the jump seat in the back was still dressing out, and he didn't have his seatbelt buckled. They rounded. He was on the driver's side. They made a sharp right hand turn. Guess who fell out the fire truck? That's right, the guy that didn't have his seatbelt on and was still dressing out. Chris, I still can't hear you, bro. I don't know what's going on. Folks, we've got a lot of new equipment we're still trying to work the bugs out of, so y'all please forgive us. So, just take that few minutes to walk around your truck. Make sure everybody's seated. I know nowadays that they have these little, or at least they used to anyway, they have a little red light inside that is like a little rotating beacon that is on when all the doors are open. When all the doors shut, the red rotating beacon goes out. The light goes out, holler back at everybody. Everybody buckled up, and then proceed on. And as always, give due regard to traffic and everything, because that little red light and that siren, it's just asking for the right of way. It's not automatic. Yeah, you got it. Haul ass through the intersection. It don't work like that, folks. So, Chris, if you can bring up uh, the conversation off of Facebook, if you got it.
So the first one says hypothetical scenario outcome question from last scene of Insomnia. Gage is on the tailboard asleep on engine 51. As it leaves the station, DeSoto goes back to bed. Would DeSoto be allowed to make the paramedic run on his own, or would he had to wait for dispatch squad not available because Gage wasn't there?
Okay, now read what you put.
Okay, I said, well, if the driver operator of engine 51 did his job correctly, he would do a 360 walk around to make sure all compartments were closed and would discover Gage asleep on the tailboard and not pull out of the station. So the scenario shouldn't exist. And then someone who I've actually edited these to quote unquote protect the innocent um, says, when you get a call and in a hurry, you do not have time to do that. Now that's the first part of the first response I got. Jay?
Okay, don't have time to do that. All right, let's back up to what I just said a few minutes ago. There's always time for safety.
Right.
What good are you going to do if you go rolling out and one of your crew members is still laying on the apparatus floor because they fell off the truck because you didn't do that walk around, make sure everybody was on board. Your truck and your crew is not going to be any good when you get there. If you don't secure your doors, make sure they're secure, and tools, appliances, whatever falls out of the compartment is laying on the side of the road somewhere. What good is your apparatus going to do when you get there? You're basically out of service. So you want to go on to the next one?
So on this one, it's basically the same thing. It says when you get a call in a hurry, you don't have time to do that. So I said the person's name. So you're going to pull out of the bay and tear a door off the truck because you don't have 4 seconds to do a walk around. And then Jay pops up and says, "There's always time to make sure you and your crew and your apparatus will make it to the scene safely. What good is your crew or truck going to be if the other or if one or the other is out of service? It's a safety thing."
To me, this guy, and again, like Chris said, he blurted out or wiped out the name to protect the innocent. And I'll come out and say it. I'm old enough that I don't give a shit anymore. Protect the ignorant.
Right.
Um, he strikes me as the type of firefighter who is fresh on the job, wants the T-shirt and the pager and the thank you for your service type deal. Um, no, um, no regard for anybody's safety. He just wants to run the red lights and blow the siren and look at me, here I am driving a big red fire truck.
Right. Exactly.
Well, you get in your first accident with a fire truck, see what happens, old boy.
Oh, I
Uh,
can attest. I can attest to that.
I was going to say, Chris was riding officer one day, and it wasn't they did everything right, and and they went around the curve, and the apparatus rolled on them. But still, it can happen. It can happen to anybody at any time. So, wouldn't you rather it be something that was if it's in God's will to happen? Wouldn't you rather it be something accidental or a fluke accident, freak of nature, or whatever you want to call it, than to have it happen because of your stupidity and not take that 4 seconds to check? Hell, the captain go up the passenger side to take his seat. He could check that side as he goes up. You, the driver operator, going up the driver's side, you can check that side as you're going up. Make sure everything's secure. But it don't sound like this guy wants to do that. He just wants to get in the truck and go woo 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 honk honk down the road. And it's people like that in the fire service that just totally 100% piss me off. Chris, I lost your audio again. There you go.
It says when you get an emergency. It says when you get an emergency call, the driver doesn't have time to do a 360. They only have less than a minute to get out of the station, get on the road. That's total bullshit. Um, so I wrote back talking to a driver operator. I guess every department is different. It is our SOPs on both departments that I work for to do a 360 every time you leave the station, emergency traffic or not. It is literally less than 3 to 4 seconds. And then Jay goes, it's amazing how everyone is more concerned about getting down the road, running emergency traffic on the big red truck than taking 5 seconds to ensure the safety of the crew and the apparatus.
Yep. And the paid department here where I live, it's a pretty big department. They have 6 stations, and they have 2 minutes from the time the call goes out to be on the truck and rolling out. And I'm sure that these guys can, take that 3 or 4 seconds within that 2 minutes and make sure everything's safe. And anybody who says that there's not enough time, you're liable to learn the hard way. Right or wrong, Chris? So, Chris, try this. Bring you back up. Take me off the solo stage and bring you up the side of me. See if that brings your volume back.
So yeah, I'm here, but
No, put both of us up there.
I just think it's the generation of people. So
There you go. Now I can hear you.
anyway,
So, folks, like I said, we got new equipment we're trying to work the bugs out of, so just bear with us.
but yeah, but like I was saying, I don't know if you heard me. I said I think it's a lot to do with the generation of firefighters are coming out now. Like you said, want to run the wee woos and have no regard for anything but themselves.
Exactly. I mean, folks, this is a honorable profession. And this is also a dangerous profession. Don't believe me? Go to Emmitsburg. Walk out there to the memorial to the fallen firefighters, and just read some of the names.
Right.
And yes, some of them are accidental. Some of them maybe could have been prevented. Who knows? We don't know the circumstances of every call that they were on.
But looks like we have a comment, Jay. I'm going to pop it up here.
Okay.
Coming from Jonathan Bogus. I know who that is. It says, don't all trucks have sensors that tell you if any compartment is open on the rig? JP, newer ones do, but older ones don't. But you can't rely on electronics because electronics can fail.
Exactly. And like when I first started, we didn't have that luxury of having um the alarm bell or whatever you want to call it telling us if a compartment's open. And depending on the year of the apparatus, you're not going to have it. I mean, it used to be 20 years and you got to get a new truck.
Right.
Well, now, as long as your truck can pass a pump test, It don't matter how old it is.
Right.
And some departments that are low budget get hand me down apparatus. You know, you name it. Don't have
And,
that luxury. Go ahead.
and I was going to say, and it's not even about, how do I want to put it? It's not even about whether to me, it's not about whether the compartments are closed and this, that, and the other. That's the end goal, but it's about doing your job right, is to me. And
Exactly.
having due regard and for the safety of your crew.
Exactly. One
That
hundred
was
percent.
my whole point. It's like just it's the careless attitude that some of these people and some of these people who comment may not even be in the fire service. I mean, this is a fan page for a TV show, so they may not know as far as that goes. We don't know.
Now they could see Johnny and Roy or Severide and Casey or who whatever uh, fire TV show that they watch. Bell goes off there in the truck and out the door in 20 seconds. Well, that's TV. This ain't real life. It ain't real, real life.
Right.
So, you got anything else you want to say on that topic, Chris, before we move on?
Uh, no. I'll say this one till the end, or did I fix it? Let me see. Oh yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna pop this up here because I come across this, and it's not on the same topic, but it was something interesting that I found out. Just a more of or less of a This was another Facebook post, but it was kind of an interesting a piece of advice that I saw. So I'm gonna throw this up there and see what you think about this, Jay.
Okay.
It says everyone is feeling the strain of fuel costs, repairs, groceries, and more. But here's what a fire department cost looks like. In 2020, a set of turnout gear was $3,000. Air packs were $6,500. Fuel was $2.54 a gallon, and the fire engine cost $500,000. A ladder truck costed $1 million. In 2024, turnout gear is $5,600 a set. Air packs now cost $10,000 a piece. Fuel's at $4.50 a gallon, and we're talking about diesel fuel here. A fire engine is $1 million, and a ladder truck is roughly $2 million. It says this is a drop in the bucket with all the other areas like insurance, payroll, hose, preventative maintenance, and lots more. And most of these firefighters are making less hourly than most fast food employees and restaurants are. So support your local fire department. So anytime a fire department has a barbecue sale, has whatever kind of fundraiser, yeah, that barbecue is going to cost you $12 a plate, but go support your fire department.
Exactly. Exactly. Because the equipment that they use to that they bought with the money that you paid for that plate of barbecue and hush puppies could be the piece of equipment that eventually saves your life or a life of your loved ones.
Right. And a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, the town's going to pay for all this and that." No, the town doesn't. A lot of towns don't pay for a lot of things that fire departments need. They just pay for the
Mm-mm.
bare basics. Especially smaller towns, they don't have a big fire department budget. So
The
a
very
big
first,
a big city, yeah, like Chicago, maybe, yeah, the city's going to pay for everything, so they don't need to do fundraisers. But normal mid to small size towns, yeah, help them out.
the first volunteer fire department I can remember ever being around, they um, their budget consisted of what they made off of Brunswick stew sale, two fish fries in a year, and they would have, I don't know if you've ever seen one, a womanless beauty pageant that they would sell tickets to and have like a spaghetti dinner or something like that before the thing started.
I
And
haven't
that's
I haven't seen one, but I know what they are.
oh, they're freaking hilarious, really. But anyway, um, can you imagine my popping heels in heels and a skirt? Not a pretty sight.
No.
But and that's how they supported their fire department. That's how they bought their equipment. That's how they purchased. I know of two engines,
Right.
and they had a old um, fuel oil truck donated to them that they cleaned the tank out and painted and used that as a tanker. Nothing wrong with it. It worked,
Yeah.
but they got to where their stuff was so popular and everyone got to looking forward to it that eventually they were making pretty good money
Right.
on these things, which allowed them to get newer equipment and and such.
Well,
Um,
any fire department that wants to stay cutting edge and stay with the times relies on this to um, get the things they need, because towns are only going to pay the bare minimum of what they need. The bottom of the barrel give you what OSHA says you have to have, and that's it.
yeah.
If you want a brand new high tech camera or something like that, no, they gotta go. The department has to go buy it.
Well, the good thing about today versus back in the day when my pop started out, they have grants nowadays
Yeah.
that you can fill out, and after 9/11, Homeland Security grant, if you could prove how it would be used to fight fire, you could order 5,000 water pistols,
Yeah.
and they'd pay for it as long as you could prove it would be used to help fight fire. Um, Back in the day, they didn't have that, so
Okay.
that's one lucky thing of today versus way back then. But then
Well,
again, you've got to have somebody who is smart enough to be able to write the grant, and usually you wind up having to go to a school to learn how to do it so you can be approved for it.
right. Or you hire a grant writer, and then by the time you hire a grant writer, you've blown all your money to pay for
But
this grant writer, because grants are not easy to write. I mean, there's a specific format you have to do, a specific way it has to be written and presented, and this, that, and the other. So,
exactly, exactly, and you know, like I said, today versus back then, when it comes to that, departments are lucky due to the fact that they have access to these grants. There's safer grants, matching grants. Um, you know, somebody knows how to do it. You can write a grant and get pretty much what you want. Um, the way a matching grant works, if you don't know, is like the fire department puts up, let's just say, $5,000. Well, the grant's going to match it five
right,
thousand dollars. So you have $10,000 to get what you need. To where the safer grants, if I'm not mistaken, uh, you don't have to match funds or anything like that. I might be wrong. It's been a while. So,
exactly. But my point is, a lot of departments, especially smaller ones, aren't gonna. They're gonna go and raise funds on their own,
no,
because it's easier than trying to write a grant.
no. Now, like you said, bigger city departments, you know, you can pretty well get what you need. I know my department down on the coast. Uh, One of the first when they first started out, it was the fundraising thing. Well, the chief at that time, he took and invested that money into CDs, and they just kept doing what CDs do. They renewed and grew equity and all like that. And 1992, I want to say it was either 92 or 93.
All right.
They built a brand spanking new fire station. Never paid a penny out of pocket. They just cashed in one of those CDs and used that.
Just on the interest that it drew.
Yeah, exactly. And then they took another CD and bought one, two, three, four new engines, um, a heavy rescue slash command unit, and a boat,
Oh, cool.
and and again paid for it from the interest off of the CDs. Uh, that's one of the, I don't want to say richer fire departments in the county, but they're not hurting.
Right.
So, well, if you're ready, Chris, we'll move along to the next topic I want to
So,
talk about.
all right, go ahead. Go for it.
All right, folks, I want to talk a little bit about the most underused tool on the fire scene.
A firefighter's brain.
Well, no comment. Actually, the deck gun.
So we're
You,
going to talk about master streams. Gotcha.
Now, the deck gun. Everybody, people, departments spec out their new engines for a deck gun. Do you ever use it, or is it just there for looks? Here's my point. There was this study, test, whatever you want to call it, experiment done, and it was done on a training house.
Yeah.
And what they did was they took two engines, pulled them up face to face. One engine crew was their job was to lay the supply line, pull the line, and go in and attack the fire. The other engine, their job was to pull the supply line, get water, and hit it with the deck gun. See which one was quicker. Now, the deck gun crew, 45 seconds they were putting water on the fire and knocked it out. They fell back, relit it, let it get barking back out the front again like it did with the deck gun crew. Then they turned the hose line crew loose. 2 minutes and some change later, they were putting water on the fire.
Okay.
Now, here's where it saves time, for lack of better words. You're putting water on the fire through the deck gun off of your tank. Most trucks nowadays, 1,000 gallons? Uh,
Yeah, give or take
50.
750 to 1,000, give or take.
Okay. While there one guy, usually the driver operator, sets up the deck gun, the other guys on the crew are pulling hand line or pulling supply line, getting him hooked up. By the time he's got the deck gun, got the pin pulled, aimed, and water flowing, he's hooked up to the water supply.
Yeah.
So you basically hit, knock the hell out of the fire, so to speak, no pun intended. And then you can just pull an inch and three quarter, go in, mop up, go home. Now, the tip on your deck gun has a lot to do with it also.
All right.
If you use the smooth bore, you can knock the hell out of a lot of fire really quick. To where if you use the fog adjustable nozzle, it's not as quick.
Right.
And plus, if you think back to your water supply and master streams classes, it don't really take out a lot of pressure to get a good stream from a smooth bore.
No. But
What?
here's where being an inexperienced pump operator comes in. Uh, master stream will empty a tank in less than a minute, give or take. Because you're talking, well, 2 minutes maybe, because you're talking 800 gallons a minute, give or take.
Well, if you think 1,000, if you've got a truck that's 1,000 gallon tank on board,
Yeah.
that's what 3 minutes and some change. If you got a smooth bore, you're not running the amount of pressure that you would have to with the fog nozzle. So that's conserving water also,
Right.
and it gives your crew time while you, the driver operator, is setting the deck gun up to lay your supply line out.
Right.
Now, I
Well,
mean, go ahead.
I would say I think a lot of departments only use it for like big fires because like industrial fires, like the mill fires that they had in Alamance County last
Well,
year, because on a residential, they're going to want to go in and do a surgical, like precision knockdown because they don't want to destroy people's belongings and any potential evidence. A deck gun has so much pressure, it literally destroys the building as you're um, knocking what putting water on it.
well, point taken. But here's something else you got to think of. If you come rolling up to the scene and you got fire blowing out all the windows on the front side and the front door and all like that, there's nothing wrong with hitting it with that deck gun and knocking it down. I mean, I know you're not going to be able to go in and put every bit of the fire out with that deck gun,
Right.
but you can knock it down to where A, it's safer.
I don't
B,
disagree. I don't get disagree with you. I was just throwing a point in there.
yeah, and I mean, you can take an inch and three quarter, which is lighter, more maneuverable, then and take that and go in and mop up to where if you don't hit it with a deck gun, then you're pulling a 2.5 that's bulky and heavy and hard to make a turn, hard to make a bend in the house and whatnot.
Yeah.
And as far as people's belongings in those rooms that are got fire blowing out the front end, it's already gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to put it that way, but it's the truth. If it's to that point where you flashover's already occurred and it's blowing out the windows, it's gone. Whatever's
True.
in that room is gone.
I mean, yeah, that's a fair point.
So I mean,
But as
I'm
far as investigation goes, they tell us, they want us to preserve evidence the best we can. So,
well, I understand that, but in the same respect, we're talking about it. Kind of goes back to the safety thing again.
yeah,
You know, let's just say, for instance, the crew that you got a volley department and you've only got two or three guys on the engine. Use the deck gun, man. Knock
yeah,
it down. And I mean, now granted, I'm not saying blow the house apart for just a little bit of smoke coming out from the eaves of the house.
right.
I'm saying if you got a large body of fire,
Flames showing.
yeah,
Yeah.
the typical no doubter coming down the road. You see it from a couple of miles out. Use the deck gun.
See
Or
the wonderful orange glow coming down the road.
and that's it. I mean, I've heard old timers say it umpteen thousand times, and there's a lot of truth to it. Work smarter, not harder.
Right.
So,
I mean, yeah, that's a fair point because you're going to have to go back in anyway, and you're going to have to pull ceiling, and you're going to have to look for hot spots, and um, that gun's not going to get it all.
mm-mm.
So you're going to have to go do your overhaul. You're going to have to do, pull ceiling and get hot spots and check for extension and that kind of thing as well.
Yeah,
Anyway, with a with an inch and three quarter.
yeah, and you know, I'm a big guy, and I hated having to use a 2.5 because it was big, bulky, and I always wound up with the 2.5 because I was, like I said, I'm a big guy,
Right.
and it's a son bitch to try to make some of the turns in some of these houses to get to the to see to the fire with it. And,
Or toting it up steps.
oh God, no!
Yeah.
We that was the thing down there when we were living at the coast. There weren't any elevators in those houses, and we had to bring it up the steps. And what we started doing was feeding it right up the center of the steps. Because I don't care, for some reason everybody liked the go up a flight and have a little bit of a landing, come up a flight, have a little bit of a landing, and go up another flight. You
Yeah.
know, just run it right up the center, and when you get to where you're going to be working with it, just you know pull you some slack, tie it off to the stair rail. Excuse me, to the stair rail and rock and roll.
Right. I mean, I've even seen some of these houses, places like Hilton Head, Lake Wiley, some of the big houses on there, where you've had to literally make a standpipe system out of 2 inch
Hmm.
because it was just easier to do it that way than trying to tow it even 1.75 inches up a step upstairs.
I've even seen them put the platform up to the window, and you take a high rise, basically a high rise pack, to the window, connecting to the discharges on the platform,
Yeah.
and do it that way.
I
So
mean, why not?
yeah, whatever works, put the fire out. And by the way, this segment is not brought to you by Pepsi Cherry. But anyway, next time your department has the opportunity to have an acquired structure and you have a deck gun, try it. You might like it. That's how I got 2 kids. Anyway, anything else, Chris?
Not appropriate.
Well, I did say there was no filters.
Um, I mean, you talked about that. I talked about the help your fire department thing out and the Facebook trolls that pissed me off. So I covered what I wanted to speak about.
Now,
So
see, folks. I mean, I realize that there's you know bigger and better things, and I understand thinking outside the box. Which back in my day we did think outside the box. Um, but as the times change, the box has gotten bigger, and you have more technology to deal with and whatnot. But you know, it's like one time I was called a fire rescue dinosaur, and a good friend of mine, and it kind of pissed me off. And a good friend reminded me that hey, you might have been there back in the day, but what you learned still saved a life.
right, and you
So
applied what you learned and you lived through it.
exactly,
Back to our initial conversation, some of these kids are not going to live old enough to retire the way they're thinking now.
I know it. Their names are going to be on that wall in Emmitsburg.
Right.
Speaking of which, ladies and gentlemen, the past couple of weeks, um,
Oh yeah, we've had what, 4?
we've had 4. I can't remember the other three's name, but department right here, not an hour's ride from where I live, uh,
Lexington, yeah.
Lexington Fire Department. They lost a captain, um, and Captain Metcalf, and I don't know the full story as to what happened, but all I know is that they sounded the evacuation alarm. He got trapped and was burned over 60% of his body.
Yeah,
Uh,
he made it out of the structure alive, but then died in the hospital after the
yeah,
fact later on, at some point later.
about almost a week to the day later.
Yeah.
So, folks, keep his family in your thoughts and prayers. I mean, they've already had the funeral, but still everything that they're having to deal with, a wife and a couple of kids, and it. I know it's hard on them. And one of them was from down around where you lived in South Carolina, wasn't it, Chris?
Yeah, I don't remember the other ones off the top of my head. I wasn't expecting to talk about it, so I didn't do any research on it. But
Uh,
I don't remember. There was like 3 or 4 in the last month or so.
yeah, it's been a bad couple of months for North Carolina and South Carolina as far as line of duty deaths.
Right.
So So guys, watch your six. Watch your partner's six. Because when the shit hits the fan, you're all. That's all you got.
Right. And for God's sakes, if your partner tells you he has to get out with him. Don't
Really.
don't keep your eye on the prize and try to move forward. Just if he's running out of air and you got a half a bottle, get out of the structure with him. Let somebody else come in and play for a while.
Now, I mean, I know it's all hat. Don't give up the nozzle or to anybody or anything like that. But damn it, they say two in, two out for a reason.
Right.
So
And I had some issues with training with a partner in training and this was just training, so it wasn't like life or death, but you know, I had some issues recently at the department I was at before, and um, kind of irritated me because the kid was younger than I am, and he's like much better shape because he's younger than I am, and much eye on the prize, eye on the prize, let's go, 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 and like no, 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 I'm out of air, we got to go, go, go the other way,
now,
and gets told 5 or 6 times I'm out of air and we got to go. Well, I'm not going to leave my partner, but you know what? I'm not gonna suffocate in the structure because nobody's paying attention.
now, uh, do I know this person?
Yes.
Figured, figured. So yeah, that's kind of a stupid call not going out with you because if you really think about it, if you're about out of air, I don't give a shit how good a shape you're in. If you crawling in with extra 100 and some pounds of gear on,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be huffing and puffing. And if you're out of air, he's going. If he's not, he's close. So and what's going to happen? I mean, if something happens to him while he's in there being John Wayne, you know, who's going to help him out?
Right. And this was what
So,
I called, this is what I called extreme training because we had to sit there and crawl in with nothing on, blindfolded, and find pieces of an SCBA, put it all together, um, assemble it blindfolded, put it on, go on air, and then crawl around and try to find your way out. And they put all kind of obstacles in your way, and it was just extreme. What I would consider extreme for training.
well, if you think about it, it's not really a bad training.
No, it's not bad. It's just
As far as the crawling around with the obstacles and all like that, but I mean, how many times in my career have I had to assemble a CBA in a burning house? None. So that part, I mean, I can kind of see it, but it's a little far fetched because
no, but
smoke smoke filled environment and you can't see shit. You know,
it helps you learn how to do buddy breathing. I mean, like hook up a buddy breather when you can't see.
yeah,
I mean, honestly, it's like more of a writ skill, I would think, than anything.
yeah. I'm too old for it now. I'm too old to crawl in a house.
Exactly.
But God, I miss it. I really do.
I understand.
You know what gets me more than anything in this world? My son-in-law. He um he wants to be a firefighter so bad he don't know what to do. Every time he sees a fire apparatus going down the road, responding to a call, and they got the cue wound up tight and their horns are blaring, you know, the sound that we all love. What does he do? He sticks his head out the window of the vehicle and hollers, "Go get 'em, brothers!" I'm like, "You're not even brother yet. Shut the fuck up."
But
So, but you know, my oldest son used to do that, and then he caught on to you know the deal with the whole thing, and he don't do it anymore.
yeah,
And
to me, that kind of go get them brothers. That kind of ranks right up there with thank you for your service, because
mm-hmm,
to most people, like firefighters and whatnot, thank you for your service is kind of like an insult.
Yeah.
If a civilian tells you that, then I mean, yeah, they're being honestly, but they're being genuine. But if one firefighter says it to another, it's in a derogatory manner, and it's kind of like it's meant as a insult, more or less.
Man, I got a t. I got a T-shirt that my wife got for me. It says "Retired Firefighter." Then down at the bottom it says, I wish my mind could forget the things my eyes have seen."
Right.
And when I wear that, I hear you can hear some people have some kind of snide comment or anything, and uh, if I'm in the right mood, which the older I get, that mood seems to be hanging around more often. I'll pull my shirt sleeve up and show them where I got burnt.
Right. And there's a picture, not a picture, but like a cartoon that's been going around Facebook a lot, and it says it's the fire. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a famous artist, and he draws fire cartoons. And it says shows a picture of a firefighter sitting on a bench, and then another person sitting beside him, and the person says, "Well, what's the weirdest thing you've ever seen, or what's the worst thing you've ever seen?" And then to the left of the firefighter, there's all these ghost like figures there, and
Hmm.
the caption says, "Which one are you going to talk about?"
Yeah,
Um,
that's one thing, folks. I mean, if you meet someone who's a firefighter, you know, I'm respectfully asking, don't ask them to bring up the worst day, the worst memory in their life.
right,
I mean, we see things that you know turn most people's stomachs, and it's we see people on their worst day,
exactly,
and why would you want us to remember it?
right, and
If you want to ask something, ask them what's the best thing that we've ever seen or done on a fire scene.
but then again, if the conversation kind of if the person leads into that other, well, I did this and I did that and it was bad, then yeah, if they want to talk about it, go for it. No harm, no foul. Just don't bring it up.
Yeah, exactly. If the firefighter brings it up, that's on them. But don't, but please don't ask them um, to purposely bring it up.
But you know, honestly, to me, it really shocked me. The strangest thing for me was like all the bad things I've seen over the years doesn't give me PTSD, but every time I think about my accident, that's when PTSD kicks in.
Yeah.
Um, I've seen lots of horrible, terrible stuff, and it doesn't bother me. But like if there's a video of the Raleigh Fire Department um, when they rolled their tiller,
Now,
making that turn and rolled their tiller, and every time I watch that video, it like triggers me, and I start like twitching, and it's just subconsciously twitching, and it triggers me. But something is I lived through that, I survived, I wasn't hurt, blah blah blah.
yeah.
No harm, no foul, but yet it's still mental. It's still as fresh as the day it happened in my mind.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Um, you know, the I went to a wreck scene one time, and there was a little boy who was ejected, and we were working him, uh, and he when they we were doing CPR and everything until we put him on the back of the ambulance. When I closed one of the doors, my cousin closed the other, and when they pulled off, I don't know what they did. I don't know if they called it or what. I don't want to know.
Yeah,
But after that, I went over behind the engine, sat down on the tailboard, and I cried my eyes out
right,
because that little boy was the same age as my youngest son at the time.
right,
Every time I closed my eyes, that's all I seen was his face on that little boy.
right. And
And I'm gonna be honest with you, I come the closest that day that I've ever come to going to jail. I ain't gonna lie to you about it. The wreck was caused by a drunk driver,
Of course.
and he didn't even have a scratch on him.
Never does.
They loaded the boy's mom and his sister in the helicopter and took them off, and they took the little boy by ambulance. I'm sitting over there behind the engine, and I hear him. Why the blankety blank am I still here? Why am I in handcuffs? I didn't do a effing thing yet,
Right. They're never at fault.
No.
Never.
And I mean, and what got me was the little bastard got what he deserved.
What?
Yeah.
Your eyes were like, what did you just say?
Oh, I'll do you one better than that. If it wasn't for my fire chief and my cousin, I don't know what I would have done.
Right.
But I do know this. I had 8.5 pounds of fucked shit up in my hand, and I was about to go upside his head with it.
Right.
Knowing what I just did and what he said, mm-mm.
But pediatrics always tend to affect people worse than adult calls.
Now, and folks, if you run a call and you continually have issues with it, don't be afraid to tell somebody. Don't be afraid to talk to somebody. Talk to your chief, your captain, the department chaplain. Talk to somebody. Get help.
Yeah,
We're
there's no shame in that. Doesn't make you weak or.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Now, with that call, I had my dad. And on the way home, I pulled over and I called him. And, I was still upset and crying. And he kind of put things into perspective. He said, tell me something. Who was doing chest compressions? I said, I was. He said, so by the book, by you doing chest compressions, he still had blood flow to all his major organs, correct? I said, yeah. He said, who was doing rescue breaths? I said, Philip was. That was my cousin, Philip.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, so by the book, he's getting oxygenated blood to the organs that he needed, right?
Right.
I said, right. He said, so technically by the book, when you put him in the back of the ambulance, he was still alive. He said, son, you did your job.
Right.
And he said, I want to tell you what always helped me. He said, when you get home, you get Buddy and you get Danny and you hold them.
And hug them.
And hug them and tell them how much you love them.
Right.
And he said, don't be the big macho hero. He said, if you feel the need to cry, you cry. And I went home and I did what he said, and I bawled my eyes out again. And for the longest time, I wouldn't go past where that wreck was at. I purposely went 5 miles out the way to avoid the area.
Oh yeah, you'll never forget locations of certain incidents. That's for sure.
And to this day, I can ride by that spot where that wreck happened, and I see that little boy laying there on the ground, just as plain as I'm looking at the computer screen right now.
Yeah.
So, but things, like you said, pediatrics, is the worst. And folks, again, do not be afraid to ask for help. If you need it, uh, what is critical stress debriefing?
Yeah. CISM.
Yeah,
Critical Incident Stress Management.
yeah.
CISDs. Yeah.
But if you need one of those, request it. If your chief says that you don't need it,
Tell them.
tell him to go fuck himself and go higher up.
Right.
I mean, this is your mental health we're talking about here, and we've lost way too many firefighters to to suicides and to it's just a shame. So,
All right. Well,
but hey, I got one more thing.
okay.
This is on a whole lot brighter note.
All right.
I got a surprise the other day.
Oh,
Yeah. Back in December, my niece had joined the fire department.
oh yeah, you told me about this.
Yeah, she did not tell me because she wanted to make sure that she was gonna like it, and she knew how I felt about things, fire service and everything. She wanted to make sure it was going to be a good fit before she told me. And what, about 2 weeks ago,
Yeah, give or take. Not
uh,
even.
is when she told me. And I just want to say, Caitlin, honey, Uncle Jay's very proud of you. You keep up the good work. And like I told you,
Shoot for the stars. Reach the top.
exactly. You can go far in this, and if you need any help, the old man's a phone call away.
So am I. I hope to.
Yeah. So if you can put up with two old grouches, we'll be good to go.
Right.
All right, Chris, I'm good. How about you?
No, not too bad. So let's just do a little housekeeping before we end it.
Okie dokie, hokey pokey.
Sounds good. So the live streaming software we use is called EVMux. If you want to start your own video podcast or your own live show, maybe one for your church, um, use the QR code here or go to the link there. It's a affiliate link, and we get a little bit of kickback if you sign up under our link. It helps us, and it's a great software to use for your streaming. If you would like to donate to the show, you can buy us a coffee. Again, scan the QR code and just send a donation to the show. All your donations help us with equipment, streaming costs, and uh, any other show related expenses that we have, because it's not free and it's not cheap. We do it because we love to do it, and to provide good information from for you guys.
And if you have a suggestion for a show of a topic that you would like for us to cover, you can contact us through our website, which is
www.jcfireproductions.com. And again, there's a QR code for that as well. So we try to make it easy. If you're watching on TV or whatever, you can just scan the QR code. It pops up right on your phone. JC Fire Productions does shows all of our projects that we're involved with, all the podcasts, all the video YouTube channels we do, as well as the video production service that we're trying to get off the ground for. Basically, we're gearing it towards fire departments. So, if you're a member of a department might want us to do training videos or, feature your apparatus or whatever, just click on the website there and get in touch with us. We're glad to come out and help out any way we can.
absolutely, absolutely. And
Which hopefully we're going to be getting the apparatus, some of the apparatus videos done for uh, the YouTube channel specifically.
yeah, it's going to be called the latest and greatest. But it don't necessarily have to be a brand spanking new apparatus. You could have a restored parade piece if you'd like to show off. I mean, I love old apparatus. I mean, I'm the I'm the type of person that likes to know the history that built up to technology. Um, Anything from the old steam pumpers right on up. I love it. So if you got an old apparatus, parade piece, brand spanking new truck, it don't matter if you want it featured. Let us know. Okay, split screen again, Chris. I lost you.